Hey guys, it's Tiny Tom Logan back with another video for you, and finally today we're going to be looking at the Sandy Bridge processors. Now I'm going to be doing the 2500k and the 2600k as separate videos. Content may be very similar, but it's just because there's going to be an awful lot of benchmarks, I'd rather separate them out. And then I'll be doing all the boards separately as well. So if you're a newcomer to my reviews, if you're a newcomer to the Overclock 3D reviews, then please go to the channel and you can see all the other videos there, or there's a link there which will be underneath which will take you to the main body of the main review, which was done by Brian, because we've been working on all these together, and boy has there been an immense amount of work. Right, let's start off with the basics. 1155 socket. This is completely different to 1156. They're not compatible in any way, shape or form. You cannot switch the processors. No. The only thing that is the same is the actual mount, so you can use your 1156 coolers on the 1155 chips, but that's as far as it goes. This is a review on the 2500k. The 2500 is an i5 series board. The K denotes the fact that the multiplier is unlocked. It's 3.3 gigahertz, which is it's 100 times a 33 multiplier. Now, when you first look, it looks as if it's locked to a 33 multi, and it is. That actual main part of the chip is locked at 33, so it will never go. You've got a turbo mode, but the actual chip clock is 3.3, and with speed step on it will drop down to 1.6. So if it looks like your chip's at 1.6 and it keeps flicking between, that's perfectly normal. That's just the way it is. If you turn the speed step off, it will stay at 3.3, but some of the boards don't actually support that. The overclocking with these is completely different, because you actually overclock the turbo mode. When you stress the CPU, it flicks up again. And in basic mode, the 2500k, I had so many of these, my brain's turned to mush, but it will flick up to 3.6, 3.7. But what you do when you overclock is you actually overclock that turbo state. So for argument's sake, it will be 3.3 1 minute, you'll open your game up, and then it will kick into your overclock of 4 gigahertz, 4.6 or whatever. And I will show you in the BIOS, because the overclocking is very different to these. And I don't want you to take my settings as what you can put in, because I've pushed the chip to the absolute limits, and I've got the BIOS open behind me. But the easiest way to get these to overclock is they've all got power restrictions. So basically what you need to do is open all the taps on all the power restrictions, because when they flick into turbo mode, there's a huge power spike. And if your power restrictions are set to a certain limit, even if your overclock is set, for argument's sake, at 4.2 gigahertz, but the power doesn't allow it, will only go up as far as the power will allow. So you may have set it to 4.2, but it may only get to 3.9. So the overclocking is simpler than it is with like 1366, for example, or even the old 1156. But then with all these new power states and stuff, it's actually a lot more confusing. Talking about overclocking, what I want to do is talk to you about how far you can go with these, because I've been benching my 2500k at 5 gigahertz stable. It did take an awful lot of volts. I was pushing 1.6 volts through the actual chip itself, which I'm not going to beat about the bush. I would not, and I'm quite clearly saying this out loud, would not recommend this for 24/7 use. Didn't get that hot. The maximum temperatures I've been seeing in the room, not a delta but just a core temperature, has been no more than about 72 degrees. With an Noctua and HD 14, I've had other fans blowing at the board and stuff to try and keep it cool. Definitely wouldn't recommend anyone to be doing this for 24/7. But it is there available for short bursts and bench runs and stuff. And to be quite honest with you, this some boards may even be able to push them further. I've had to go to use the Intel board for the 5 GHz runs because the other boards that I've had here haven't been entirely capable of it, and it's been a BIOS issue. But to be quite honest with you, I was majorly impressed with the Intel board because it really didn't take. Once I'd got my head around the BIOS, and a big thank you to Steve, you know who you are, really did pretty much help me over the phone sort the overclock out. It was a few simple things, but it's so new to us. I was literally kind of like a bit worried about whether I was going to start blowing stuff up by, you know, pretty much opening up all the amps that I was able to put in and stuff like that. But we got there in the end, and quite happily running at 5 GHz stable. Now, the benchmarks, and I am going to show you, but obviously for all the regulars, you know I'm a chitty chatty, and I want to talk to you about it first. When overclocked, even at even at 4 GHz, it does benchmark wise beat a 950 that's overclocked as well. But you can overclock these so much more. It's unreal. In another video, which you'll see whether it's uploaded in time or not, but there will be another video. Even with the Asus was only capable of 4.6 GHz with that BIOS. It was still literally walking over anything that we'd ever seen from a 950. The memory bandwidth on these is absolutely off the charts compared to anything that we've done or anything that we've seen before. The chips are amazing. But when you get them up to 5 GHz, I mean, I've done all of the benches at 5 gig, or at least all my overclock benches at 5 gig, including game runs and stuff. It's given me a good chance to be able to sit there and have a look at all the results. Now, game-wise, it doesn't make a massive amount of difference. Obviously, the 950 wasn't really holding anything back or anything like that. So, you know, actual frames per second, there's minimal differences. But when you actually come down to sort of like benchmarks where you're stressing the CPU, using all that memory bandwidth, so like W prime, Cinebench, POV, all of those kind of benchmarks, there is a massive difference. And you can see, I mean, it is just insane, really. I mean, this 2500k, we're getting 8-second W prime 32 million runs, and it's for what they are, for the prices, and really how, you know, quickly you can get them to run like this. It's absolutely ridiculous. So, without further ado, what I am going to do is I'm going to bring you in, and we're going to break out the benchmarks, and we'll do a selection of benchmarks. We're going to do a selection of game runs as well. But one thing I will stress is this video is a companion to the main review. So if you want to go and see all of the benchmarks and actually be able to see all of the other CPUs in the graphs, and click underneath and go to the main review on Overclock 3D. But the long and short of it is Sandy Bridge good? It is immensely good. And to be quite honest with you, and this is something that I've spoken to some of the vendors about, this is so good that a lot of us have been wondering why they've replaced the 1156 socket so quickly. And there's a few of us out there. I mean, we don't know. This is we're just speculating. Nothing's been told to us. Nothing's been confirmed. But it has left us wondering whether there was something wrong with 1156 all along, because it's been replaced very quickly. 1366 will have had at least twice as long a lifetime by the time that it gets replaced to 1156, and it does seem like it may not have been 100%. Almost like the difference between Windows Vista and Windows 7. Windows Vista was that great, they were fully aware of it when it came out. They moved all the money into 7 and brought 7 out quicker. There are quite a lot of us that think that happened with 1156. Intel weren't entirely happy, put an awful lot of more money into 1155 and have brought it out a lot quicker than they normally would have. So there are a lot of people going, oh, they're always replacing their sockets. So you've not got to buy them, but that's the way we've been feeling anyway. But I'm going to be quiet. I'm going to bring you all in. You can come in and see some benchmarks and see actual footage and benchmarks being run. We'll do 3D Mark Vantage. I'm going to show you the whole run of 3D Mark 11. We'll show you a nice big batch. But the long and short of it is absolutely amazing. And to be quite honest with you, the 2500k is brilliant. My one did need more volts to get to higher clocks than the 2600k, but for the average day-to-day kind of normal user, I would probably say that the 2500k is the chip to have. Obviously there are going to be people like that just want the very best, but for a reasonable gaming rig, reasonable amount of money, you will need a decent cooler. But do you know what I mean? People that are looking not on spending obscene amounts of money, the 2500k coupled with a decent motherboard and cooler with a good graphics card will be absolutely epic. Absolutely epic. I'm actually looking forward to doing some full-on like video encoding and stuff on these to see what the proper number crunching is like in real world situations. But anyway, without further ado, let's get on with some benches. Right then guys, I just want to explain to you about the turbo and everything. Now at the moment I've got prime ready to run on the right hand side. I've got core temp in the middle, which you can see the temperatures there. And then over here, if I bring you up, you can see, right, trying to fight with, right, you can see there that you can see the core speed fluctuating around. Now you can see speed step is on, which is why it's going down to 16 times multiplier. 33 is the normal speed, and then whenever it's actually doing something, you can see it's flicking up to 4.989, which is basically 5 gigahertz. It's 99.8 or 100 times 50. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start prime just quickly. Right, okay, so we've got prime running, and you can now see that the core speed's gone up and stayed up at times 50. If we go down a bit, you can see that the memory is 68624 because I'm using Mushkin Redline. Basically it's running at 1600 megahertz. If we go across to the side, you can now see the temperatures. Now that's with a Noctua NHD14. The room's 22 degrees, so normal home room temperature. It has got a couple of extra fans around it, but that's just kind of blowing at the board, so there's a bit of airflow around the actual socket and stuff as well. But yeah, that's pretty much. I just wanted to try and explain to you about the turbo and stuff like that, because it even confused me the first time. But if I turn prime off, eventually that will go back down to 1600 again. So I'm just going to turn prime off again. And hopefully the system will actually kick itself back down relatively quickly. No doubt, no, my luck, where I've actually got the video camera running as well, it will take ages. I don't think it's doing anything else. There we go, it's gone right down to 1600. So yeah, that's that bit out of the way. Let's move on to some proper benchmarks. Right, I'm going to do this live, I'm going to leave core temp running down in this corner. If you want to see the numbers and everything better, just make sure that you maximise, let it buffer in 1080. Right, straight off the bat I'm going to do a Cinebench run, just so that you can see it running. And again, this is at 5 gigahertz. We'll do the OpenGL and the CPU. As I have stated before, this is just a comparison to the main written review on Overclock 3D. and it's just so that you can actually see the benchmarks and everything running as well. If you do want to read the full written review, then the link will be underneath as soon as possible. I am using the Intel P67 board for this because at the time of making the video it was the most stable board BIOS wise. The other vendors they haven't really got it nailed yet, but I would have thought within a week or two of the main release that we will have decent BIOSes from all vendors. 74.22 frames per second in OpenGL, and now we're on the CPU run where it's rendering quite a complex picture, and you will see all the boxes start to whiz round. I'm not going to bother showing you stock results. I'm just going to show you all of the results at 5 GHz. There we go, all done and dusted. 7.78 points, which for a processor with just 4 cores is absolutely phenomenal. Now what I'm going to do is just do a quick prime run, just so that you can see literally how quick it flies through. That's it, done. View the scores. It's done it in 7.787 seconds, 32 million places. Right, now, again, live, what I'm going to do is do a performance run of 3D Mark 11. Graphics card that we're using is a stock, perfectly referenced, nothing changed, GTX 570 from NVIDIA. And we'll let this run right the way through. At the end of this video, or at the end of this bench, I will then cut into just the 3D Mark Vantage score. Right then guys, just in quickly for the score of 3D Mark Vantage P score, 26,548. That's a GPU score of 21,892, but the CPU score is obviously what we want to pay attention to, and that's 73,362 for just a normal quad-core processor without hyper-threading. Right then guys, this is the Heaven benchmark. This is literally just with the benchmark opened and then clicked run straight away. No settings changes at all. You see the scores and everything there. If you want to see these up close, just press pause and I'll move down so that you can see the rest. And there you go. That's your Heaven benchmark. Now on to Alien versus Predator benchmark. Look at the top left hand side of the screen for the frames per second there in fraps. Just for reference, as with the rest of the benchmarks in this video, this is done with a stock completely reference NVIDIA GTX 570. Now on to Resident Evil 5. This is in the DirectX 9 mode. I've not got the audio on any of these, just so that you can hear the actual rig itself. Right, that's the end of the benchmark. Let's move on with the next one. Right then guys, straight on with Metro. see it's easily holding over 30 frames a second there. It's dipping below 35 a little bit, but it's generally hovering around that 35 mark as an average. Need to remember that Metro is a complete resource hog. You really do need an obscene amount of power to get this to go much above 40. Right, time for the next benchmark, guys. We've got to the same point as we always do. Right then, guys, need to remember that at the moment we're in gamer mode, but also that we're just using a stock 570. So a completely standard, unchanged, unoverclocked graphics card. We'll watch this explosion. Didn't really go much below 50 there. But what I'm going to do is, if I head down on the beach and try and kill something, all the regulars will know my gameplay is not, by any stretch of the imagination, the best in the world, but it's just to give you a look at what's possible. Right, let's run out of here quickly and then I'm going to turn all the settings up before I die. Right, what I'm going to do now is just quickly do what I can from within Crysis and just turn the anti-aliasing up to 16, and then, I mean, this is stressing the graphics card more than anything else, but you'll be able to see what you've got available. Crikey, I can't kill these for toffee. Anyway, you can see the frames a second there are hovering around the 30-ish, 25 to 30-ish mark. Right, let's charge at this lot. That's it, run away my little beauties. we're back up to above 30 now. Uh-oh, tank's coming. Don't think I've got any mind either. Oh, that didn't work. Run! Yay, we got the tank! Right then guys, I am still here. Woohoo! You've seen there the 2500k, it's absolutely stonking performance, absolutely bonkers. To be quite honest with you, this chip is freaking amazing, and for people that are looking to buy a new rig, like a completely ground up new rig, and are looking for it to be a heavy gamer, this rig is absolutely mind-blowing. I mean, if you were to chuck this in with a 6970 or the 570 that I'm using, to be quite honest with you, it's going to be mental. Obviously I wouldn't recommend you pushing it to 5 gigahertz, but not being funny, 4.5 gigahertz should be attainable to all with a decent cooler. So this is Tiny Tom Logan with his sexy Overclock 3D shirt out. Woohoo! First Sandy Bridge video out of the way. Ding dong!